is about recovering a sense of strength. We as a person, but mostly as creative people, we have to learn how to deal and how to survive loss, whether it is loss of hope, loss of money, loss of love. We have to learn how to survive and go through the initial pain of this kind of loss, mostly because we ignore how this pain can be transmuted into gains, into a sort of a lesson. If, of course, if we learn how to acknowledge them and share them properly, which I mean is kind of hard to do, because we most of the time feel ashamed to even mention, even pronounce the words loss. Sharing a loss, sharing an experience like that is always, it seems, the most humiliating thing you could ever do. So we never really acknowledge them, we never really mourn them as we should. We rather try to bury them as deep as possible, in hope to kind of forget about them. And we do this thing every time we experience some new loss. So you can only imagine the pile of pain and heartbreaks we carry over time with this behavior, which is not good. It doesn't help anyone to say, oh, it's a normal thing, it's something that happened to anyone, I shouldn't be so sad about it. It doesn't really help. So it's way more better to just have a little cry about it, just take a day off. I don't know, even if it's for 5 minutes, and to cry, just to throw a tantrum over it is way better than saying, oh, it's nothing, it's really, I'm okay, I'm fine. It's because you're not. And I'm guilty of this. I am the type of person, unfortunately, especially lately, that tend to bottle up everything until I explode. And but that's another story. I turn into a seal jar when I have to deal with specific negative emotion, and I tend to shove them away instead of just sit and cry about them, instead of confronting my negative emotions. And of course, I think it's because of how I've been raised, where I've been raised. The environment I grew up in wasn't really open towards negative emotion, the display of negative emotion, where it was anger, pain, sadness. So it's like I've been trained my whole life to hide them, to hide those emotions when they bubble up to the surface, because the only option and the smart option I had growing up was to hide them. The thing is that all these baggage over time turn into a sort of wall between you and your ability to move forward. So loss and creativity go hand in hand, and the faster we learn how to deal with loss, deal with failure in general, the better. Another thing to keep in mind is that you can really approach creativity in an intellectual way, and that's pretty hard and pretty relatable if you come from an academic field, if you were or are in university, in some kind of academic path. In academic field, your career, your performance is based on merely your ability to analyze, to criticize and deconstruct already existing work. We are basically told how to put things apart, but not how to properly assemble it. The worst thing an artist can do is to become too intellectual about their work and to, forgetting that an artist's motive and rigor is rooted in different part of ourselves compared to a proper academic worker, to an intellectual. And that's also the reason why a lot of artists end up working in the commercial field. Instead of pursuing a career as a film director, you end up working as an editor, those kinds of things. I think it's common knowledge now that what gives fame and success to an artist most of the times is not talent, it's not the talent itself, but it's rather the courage to show up. It's the courage to be seen and go over the fear of being seen trying. For an artist, the lack of courage is the worst. So crucial would be to restore your sense of strength, and there's only one thing to do for this. You have to forgive yourself. You have to forgive yourself for your past mistakes, for your past loss, for your failures. You have to forgive yourself. You have to move on somehow. Most of the times your lack of courage is just because you are still stuck on that failure, on that specific loss, because it's kind of hunting you still, and you have to move on. It's like it would be like moving on from an ex of yours who was nice, who was really cute, very pretty, but an ex is an ex. You have to move on. Yeah, you have to make peace with your lost years, and I'm still trying to do it, because I'm still learning how to do it, because I'm very stubborn about it. I'm still stuck on some occasion, some past situation, but you have to move on. You have to forgive yourself for those lost years, for your mistakes. You have to make peace with your lost years, with your lost opportunities, with your lost project, and turn the page as saying, okay, maybe I can try these things again. Obviously, as we move through this grief, this pain, it's like we can only focus on what we left behind and not what we are heading towards. So we are stuck on the what could have been. I don't want to sound cliche when I say that every ending is a new beginning, because it's kind of but you have to turn this heavy baggage into some kind of lesson, into some kind of positive outlook somehow. So try to ask yourself, by going through that thing, by going through that specific situation, what I've learned, what I've gained. You have to trust yourself that you can take something positive out of a negative situation. When you start to learn how to ride a motorcycle, they usually tell you that the bike follows your gaze and it goes wherever your gaze is. So if you're staring at a wall, you're probably gonna crash. And it's basically the same thing with your mind. You go wherever your mind is. So if you are willing to really and actually look at a situation from a different point of view, you'll never open the same door again, that's for sure. This action is the key, but pain in these makes really hard to take any steps, especially the big one. So you have to kind of baby yourself in this process. Do you know when babies and little kids are playing, they are running around, but they fall, they start screaming, they start crying, their mom comes, she calls them down, and they are again running around screaming. You have to do the same thing. You have to baby yourself in a way. You can fall, you can cry, but then start running again. You have to pick yourself up and start running again. Another hard pill for artists is the concept of time and age. Yeah, we often tell ourselves that we are too old to do something, and in this we don't even realize that time will pass anyway. Time doesn't ask for permission and will pass anyway, even if we do something or not. The I'm too old is almost a coping mechanism, is something we say to protect ourselves from the ego death that we will experience while being a beginner. We don't like the uncertainty of the stage, so the I'm too old excuse protect us in a way from and shield us from the embarrassment of being a beginner. The thing is that creativity doesn't exist in the final product. It's more in the process of creating the thing. Creativity lies in the art of doing something rather than having something. It doesn't lie in the final product. It doesn't lie in your learned skill, in your final, I don't know, art. It doesn't lie in your final artwork. It lies in you doing that thing. It lies in you creating that thing. So rather than look and focus on the embarrassment of the beginner, we should keep dear the humility of the beginner, which make us fall in love with the process of doing something, of creating something. It makes us fall in love with all the twists and turns of the process, of a creative process. To have the grace of a beginner is also what saves you from making the mistakes of thinking about, the final stage, the final steps of a process when you haven't even started yet. We as creative people are dramatic. We like drama, we like chaos. We use sometimes the negative drama to slow down, to scare ourselves from our own creativity. Instead of writing the book, you are already thinking about where and how you're gonna do your book signing without having the book yet. What I'm saying is that sometimes we really like to just wonder about how our lives would be if only we were real artists instead of doing the work. And I repeat, I'm just as guilty as you. And this looking at the big picture kind of thing, kind of approach, does us more harm than good, honestly. Because instead of making art, we just start contemplating the odds. Not good. Creativity requires action, unfortunately, for most of us, because, like I said, we really like to think of all the odds, think of, what if only I had this, if only I was able to do. We have to start, even just making some baby steps. If you are able to make a small, tiny baby step towards your goal, it's still good because it's movement. Movement is movement, no matter how small it is. At this point, it's a matter of self-respect, respect for yourself, respect for where you are, and mostly respect for where you headed. Ovviamente è sempre molto più facile a dirsi che a farsi, e ci sono tante variabili poi in conto. Non solo il sentirsi a proprio agio nel processo creativo, non solo appunto variabili strettamente legate al processo creativo, ci sono tante variabili in gioco, però, as long as you can make a baby small fucking steps is okay. Quanto riguarda gli esercizi erano parecchi, erano tanti, non li sto menzionando più di tanto perché sono molto personali alla fine. L'esito di un esercizio cambia molto in base a come lo approcci e a cosa rispondi, quindi dire cosa ho risposto io, cosa ho scritto io non darebbe nulla di aggiunto al video, se non sprazzi sulla mia vita personale che magari lasciamo ad altra sede. Currently going through week 9, I'm still reading it, and I'm still, I think, behind with those videos. I kind of slacked off a bit, but that was week 8, and that's all. We are going to see each other at week 9.